Welcome back, my lords and ladies, to the Cast Beyond the Wall. We're your guide to all things Westerosi, and we're here to bring you a review, analysis, and fan v fan debate of each episode of HBO's hit show, Game of Thrones. And this week, we're discussing the events of Season 6, Episode 6, Blood of My Blood. That's almost the number of the beast. It's kind of ominous, actually. You know, there's 1 6 short. I'm your host, Caleb Masters, and all I can say is I am extremely disappointed by the lack of moose in this episode. We'll get to that later. But there was a massive lacking of a moose in a crucial moment in this episode. Okay?
I'll agree with you on that. I'm disappointed as well.
Kirsten's just like, what the hell are you talking about?
I have no idea what's going on.
I don't know what's going on either, but I do have to agree, one can never have enough moose.
Just a basic standard of life.
All right, so time for me to introduce my other host, sir.
This is your co-host, Nostradostin.
Oh, God.
And I'm here to bring you all the correct predictions of every storyline in the entire show with 100% accuracy.
Austin, I thought we buried this. I thought this died a long time ago. I thought we decided when your Cersei Lannister killing Joffrey prediction was horribly wrong. We're putting Nostradamus to Austin to bed.
The plan hasn't been fully revealed yet, Caleb.
Nostra Austin. Okay. All right, so long-time listeners will remember Nostra Austin used to make all the predictions and was always wrong. But apparently he's back in full form. My other host, sir, introduce yourself.
Daniel Stoll, and I noticed that Sam got a new sword this week, but I don't think he's a high enough level to equip it. So I don't know what he's going to do with it.
He's got to level up. He's not at the base level.
That's true. There's no way he can use it, so I don't know what good it's going to do him.
Sam could hit the level cap and still never be able to do it, right?
You guys are jerks. Sam's a wonderful human being, okay? All right, well, thank you. Those are our hosts. This year we're podcasting along with our good friends and gracious host at the Good Trash Media Network. Now, if you haven't heard, the Good Trash Media Network is a website dedicated to taking your experience watching TV and film beyond the screen and onto your device. Why? Because we believe watching that TV and film are so much more than 90 minutes in a bucket of popcorn, or in this case, 60 minutes in a glass of Dornish wine. Now, you can track all of our posts related to Game of Thrones and all the movie stuff we talk about on Good Trash Media at facebook.com/goodtrashmedia or on Twitter at good_trash. Now, this week, we are blessed to be joined by a special guest host who has written for Good Trash, writes for Good Trash, and is a avid Game of Thrones watcher. Ma'am, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Kirsten Thurkelson, and I wrote, and will be soon starting up again, a column called The Frightful Femme, which takes a look at horror movies, both the good, the bad, and the ugly, and watches them through a lens of feminism and sort of just representation in film. I also do some work and writing with a local comedy troupe called Sad Boys, which I've been more actively writing for them lately as well.
It's all of that is a lot of blast. I approve all of those things she just said. The Frightful Femme is my favorite thing because a lot of times I have to read through and proof because I'm editor and stuff on the website. And it is my favorite thing to edit every week. And it's okay. George R. R. Martin, when he takes breaks, he takes like 8-year-long breaks. So you're good. You're ahead of the curve.
Mine's just been like a couple months.
Oh, no worries. You got George beat by a mile. So it's a real pleasure, Kirsten. Me and you haven't really had a chance to talk a whole lot before, so this is going to be really exciting.
Right.
Yeah, this is fun times. I feel like I'm about to learn something new about you. My 2 questions.
Okay.
All right. So have you read any of the books?
I have not read any of the books. I went in watching the series just like completely blind,
Very nice.
Context. Very
nice. Well, that's really the best way if you're gonna get into Game of Thrones. No context, just right into it. I mean, even myself, I didn't start watching until season 2. By and large, unless you're Austin Lucari, that's usually how people get into it. Now, how long have you been watching the show?
I have been watching the show. I kind of started binge watching it from the beginning last year. I'm lucky enough to have HBO Go, so I just went back and I hammered the first season in like 2 months. And then I've just been keeping up with it now.
Nice. So. Very nice. Well, it's a very bingeable show. Of all the shows to binge out there because it's only 10 episode seasons, which is
Right.
shorter than like a lot of the 13 episode seasons or the 20, God forbid, 22 episode seasons that are out there. And man, I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, you watch Game of Thrones. This show is just, once you get in it, it doesn't stop. It just keeps going.
Absolutely.
So, all right, fantastic. So, Austin, we have yet another. You have another friend. Clearly, I'm asking the wrong people to be guest hosts on this podcast because none of them ever read the books.
Yeah, I mean, that's the smart people don't read. I said this last week. And I stand by that statement.
So Daniel and I have both read the books, but we're not actually snobs. I actually love talking to people who haven't read the books. They're more fun.
Well, I actually I watched the show with my boyfriend who has read all of the books, and his favorite thing is to give me like a running commentary of, oh, that happens totally different in the books. So I'm mildly educated as to the differences between the show and the books.
Very nice. Well, what's funny is they're actually really close up until last season was where the major deviation started to take place, which is a lot of fun. But
and now it doesn't even matter because the books will never get written.
Yep.
Don't say that, Austin. I still want George R. R. Martin's version.
This is all you're
going to
get.
I love what Benioff and Weiss are doing. I really, really do. No. But I want George R. R. Martin's version because it's going to be different enough.
Let it go, Caleb. Never happened.
I want George R. R. Martin's version of Hodor because I know it's not going to be the same version of Hodor that we got last week. And I know that Cold Hands is not the same version of Cold Hands we got in the show this week. So
you know what the best version of Hodor is? The one that actually exists and will continue to exist.
It exists in George R. R. Martin's imagination, you son of a bitch. All right. Well, there you go, listeners. That is our guest host, Kirsten, and she will be joining us as our kind of recap and review this week. We had a little bit of listener feedback that's very apt this episode. So we had a message from listener Matt Andrews from Kansas City, Missouri, and he was commenting on our talk about Theon and Yara last week when he said, I don't think Theon and his sister took all the ships because in the King's Moot, it was a vote among the captains, and he says he thinks they only had a few of the captains. Now, do you think that Theon will go back to Sansa? He thinks that they will go back to Sansa so they can help with the war in the north. I don't know. Austin, what do you kind of think of the question?
Nah, I think Theon did his duty to the Starks. I don't see him going back to the north unless he intends to conquer it. And I don't know that that's going to be the case for Theon. They're definitely going to Essos. They're meeting up with Dany. I am about 95% certain that's what's going to happen next, at least. From there, I think they're going to push south. I don't think they're as concerned about the north at this point.
Interesting. Well, that does beg into question, and I think we'll probably talk about this a little later, or definitely in future weeks. Like, what's their motivation if they are going to Daenerys? I don't know. It'd be interesting. Daniel, did you have any thoughts on the subject?
It's an interesting idea. I don't think that they're going to. I don't think Theon and Sansa. I'm sorry, Theon and Yara themselves are going to Daenerys. I don't know exactly what they're going to do. I thought it was more of just we're going to die, so let's get out of here. Anyone that'll come with us, we can come with us. I thought it was more of a survival tactic than it was. I don't think they really have a plan in place just yet.
Okay, cool. So you think they're just on the run, essentially?
Right now.
Oh, ye of little faith.
I think I see credence to that. That they're just on the run. They don't have a real plan. I mean, they didn't really have time to formulate a plan. Now you think about it. So I don't know. Kirsten, any ideas?
I think that it is an interesting idea. I also think that Theon would be hard-pressed to say that he's completely repaid his debt to Sansa. He kind of screwed her over big time on more than one occasion.
Yeah, watching the Ramsay, yeah.
I think that it would be interesting if that was what happened, but I agree. I don't see that in the future.
I just think whoever they end up teaming up with, they are going to, because at this point they are a factor, so whoever they end up siding with, they're going to tilt the odds in their favor, because despite the fact, I think I said this last week, they're not like a powerhouse house, right, but they've got boats, and right now every family is so broken, like the factions have grown more and more disparate since the War of the Five Kings, so whoever they side with, I feel like it's going to have a real edge on the war to come. So Matt, I hope that answers your question. Something tells me we're going to be talking about that very thing here later in the episode. Now, it's time to head into our recap and review of this week's episode, Blood of My Blood.
I'm so sorry. didn't think I'd ever come back here.
You didn't tell them I'm a wildling.
She disgraced her house, her king.
She's torn our family apart.
We should treat them without mercy, and we will. Show them what we do to our enemies.
You're a conqueror, Daenerys Stormborn.
I take what is mine.
All right, so that was from the trailer of Blood of My Blood. Let's go ahead and get into this. Kirsten, I want to get your thoughts first. What did you just kind of overall kind of initial reactions? Like, was it good? Was it bad? What did you think of the episode?
Oh, I loved the episode. I think that for a lot of the various plot lines, we've kind of hit a turning point, which I'm really excited about. This was kind of the nut up or shut up episode where everyone figured out, this is not what I want to be doing. I want to be doing something else, and they're going to kind of try to all take back their destiny, which I'm really excited about. But yeah, I thought it was a really brilliant episode.
Very nice, very nice. Austin, how about you?
Overall, I think it was a really good episode. There's one scene in particular that I wasn't really fond of. We could talk about that more later. Probably pretty predictable. But I think there's legitimate reasons for not being fond of it. Overall, I thought we had some really big reveals. I think it's, again, we've gone over this every week. It's continuing a really big shift in the pacing of the show that I, for one, am loving.
All right, very cool. Daniel, how did you feel about the episode?
I enjoyed this episode. I thought, this season has been a little bit more quicker paced, and I thought this one actually slowed the pace down just a little bit, and I liked it. It was nice, especially after the emotion that we had after last week. I thought it was a really good episode. Just not too many major things happened. We did have the King's Landing thing, but other than that, the rest of the stories were a little bit more calmed down, which I think was nice. I think we kind of needed a break from all that had happened so far this season, so I really did enjoy it. There were a couple scenes, one maybe two scenes I thought were I wasn't necessarily in favor of, but for the most part, I thought this was a really good episode.
Yeah, I think this is a really it was a really good table setter. We're back to table setting. Not every episode, Hodor is going to sacrifice himself, and there was a little bit of build up to that, and we're still building momentum to the episode 9 or episode 10. So I think this is a table setter. And, a lot of people, I feel like, get down on episodes where big stuff doesn't happen. I said, no, but you have to have great table setter episodes so you can have a great payoff. And this episode, I still feel like gave us some pretty valuable information, particularly with Bran.
That's the thing. If we don't, even if we don't get really big things happening, there's been consistent reveals and consistent answers to long-standing questions in every single episode. It's been really nice.
Yeah, there was a 20-year-old question that got answered last night. That's a big deal. So I mean, again, it's not up is down, down is up, but it's just really, really cool to be a part of where every episode you're getting something really awesome to talk about. So yeah, overall, I think this is a solid episode 6. We're building up to episode 9, so I think we're kind of everything's in full swing. All right, well, we'll go ahead with our recap portion here. Now, let's go ahead and head to the north. We're going to go ahead and start off big. We're going to start off back with Bran in the north, beyond the wall. And we get to see Mira and Bran are on the run. Or rather, Mira is running with Bran. So Bran is still kind of apparently downloading his visions from the Three-Eyed Raven, I guess. And we get some really interesting stuff. Really interesting information from that. Now, again, if you're not a nerd like myself who went through and frame by frame to the shots of what was going on, we got little bits and pieces of tons of Westerosi history. You got the Red Wedding, you got Ned Stark's death, you've got potentially the future where you see the dragon flying over King's Landing. More importantly, the one that I was most taken aback by, though, was we got a clip of the Mad King saying his infamous line, "Burn them all," right before Jaime Lannister stabbed him in the back. And I got crazy chills. I just was like, whoa. I didn't think that was a character we were ever going to see in the episode, in the show. I thought he was going to be one of those we just talk about and never really see. So
they got to set up that prequel.
I gotta set the prequel series right. Right. So, man, I thought this particular scenario was super fascinating. Just kind of learning a little bit more about exactly what the three-eyed raven had did to him, and implying that he doesn't really understand how to control his powers yet. So, what did you guys make of the kind of the flashes?
So I thought the flashes were really interesting. We saw a lot of things that we'd already seen, so we're getting to see some insight into what Bran is learning about the world that's been going on around him as he's been isolated, kind of under this tree for 2 seasons, and also grew like 13 feet. But we also saw a few things, as you alluded to, that we had never really seen before. We'd only heard stories about. I'm hoping in later episodes we're going to be able to get more details into those. I assume as Bran gains more control over his powers, we'll get a little bit more information regarding those situations. One of the scenes, the images, not really a scene, that popped up really quickly that I thought was interesting because the show leans heavily on foreshadowing. There was a post on Reddit, and a couple people have done this kind of frame-by-frame investigations of that whole kind of flashback montage. Was right after Jaime stabs the Mad King in the back. He begins to kind of sit on the throne. And to me, I think that's an interesting foreshadowing event, especially considering some events that we'll talk about later where Jaime is kind of not in the same situation he was before. And maybe it opens up some opportunity for Jaime to actually be a player in the Game of Thrones.
Well, that's interesting. Now, Daniel, correct me if I'm wrong, because wasn't it that Jaime was sitting on the throne after he killed the Mad King?
Yeah, that's correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's when Ned Stark, and that's when you get the whole speech going all the way back to season 1, where Ned Stark gives his like very, his very condescending speech to Jaime about stabbing the back. But it was like, yeah, I saw you sitting on the Iron Throne with the Mad King at your feet, or something like that. So you think this is a flash forward, not a flash back?
No, I think not a flash forward so much as it's an event that occurred in the past that foreshadows something that can happen in the future. It's definitely because you see the Mad King's body on the ground. This is definitely something that happened before.
Okay, but you think it's kind of teasing that Jaime's going to have a bigger role. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I see what you're saying. Okay, cool. Did either of you other folks have anything interesting to take from the visions?
I never thought we would see the Mad King and actually get a visual of that scenario. So that was exciting to see what is one of the most important events in Game of Thrones. Like that death, changes everything for the Targaryens and the way that the kingdom is going to be run from that moment on. So that is one of the most important things in history. So it was really cool to actually get a little image of what that looked like. So that was cool and exciting. And I think there is probably some foreshadowing going on there. I'm not exactly sure as to what. Maybe it means, as we speculated before, Bran might have something to do with that, as we saw with Hodor. I'm not convinced that that's where it's going. I don't know if I'd be happy if that's where it went. But I don't know. It was really cool to see those images.
All right. Well, the next kind of major thing, though, the big reveal here, I mean, the flashes was cool, but the big reveal is that their savior was a masked figure who was wielding this awesome, badass flaming ball chain thing. I don't know what they're actually called. Someone out there, one of our listeners, I'm sure, absolutely knows the name of that thing. But it was awesome, and he killed a bunch of the whites with it. And we find out this is none other than Uncle Benjen, who has been missing since season 1, book 1. So this is going way, way, way back, like all the way back, like episode 3 of the show or book 1. And not only that, he has definitely been resurrected. Like you can see on his face, he's got the scars, and he's very pale. And he says that he was brought back by the Three-Eyed Raven or Children of the Forest in much of the same way that the White Walkers were created, by shoving the dragon glass into his heart. And I guess he's been working with the Three-Eyed Raven for a little while, allegedly, according to him. But man, talk about a big reveal. I mean, we've been talking about Uncle Benjen on this show since like our inception, like when we started recording in season 3.
And we did predict that he was going to be showing up very soon.
We did last week. We said
I'm just going to go ahead and pat ourselves on the back, gentlemen.
Don't get cocky, Nostra Austin over there. Don't get cocky. I don't really feel like it furthers a lot with Bran's powers, other than what we saw with the flashes. But I mean, it's just kind of cool to get to see that big reveal, and to kind of bring this back to the lack of the moose. So they didn't ever call him Cold Hands proper in the show, but if you watch the making of or inside Game of Thrones following, the creators both called him Cold Hands. Now, Cold Hands is a character in the books who is a hooded character with big blue fiery hands, and he's riding a moose. It's pretty epic. It's like amazing.
He was the Tom Bombadil character, apparently very important.
Much cooler than Tom Bombadil, though. Much cooler. Now, he's a character that's appeared in the books a couple of times. He helps Sam and Gilly back when they're trying to cross the wall, and then he helps Bran and Jojen and them get to the tree. But he hasn't been seen since in the books. So this was a really big, I think, a big reveal for a lot of at least fans of the books who knew that character existed. Were you guys pretty satisfied with what we got?
Yeah, I had some questions. So it was cool, one, to see Benjen again. Two, to see like another kind of element of magic. I guess maybe you guys can't disclose this. Maybe you know too much from the books. But does this give him any type of powers? Is he immortal now? Like, well, what does this mean for Benjen?
Maybe I misunderstood. I thought that he said that they that he got the dragon glass pushed into him, and then before he turned into a White Walker, like the children saved him. I thought that's what he said. Maybe I just misheard that, but that's what I took away from it.
What happened was the White Walker stabbed him with one of the ice swords, right? Which was causing him to turn, and then the children saved him with dragon glass.
Saved him. Okay, yeah. So he was like on the verge of turning into a White Walker, and so he's like in this middle ground zone. That's why he has like this icy look, but he's not all the way there. So I thought that was really interesting.
Kirsten, were you pretty excited to see Benjen back this week?
I gotta be honest. I was in the room a room full of people who had read the books who were all just like and just like freaking out, and I was just like, whoa, what's going on? So it's cool. I appreciate that it is exciting for people who have been like curious as to who Cold Hand was, who have been speculating on whether or not it's Uncle Benjen. But overall I was really underwhelmed. I hate to say it. I was just like, oh, that's cool. Hey, it's that guy.
Right. Well, and it is tough because it's a character we've only heard like referenced a couple of times since like season 1.
Right.
So there's not like the real investment we have in that character is the same investment we have with is solely through the stories we've heard about him. Like it's not through a real personal connection there.
Well, and maybe it's just me, but I also feel that the way that the episode kind of dealt with the reveal was a little bit, just kind of like tossed it out there. Like, yeah, they had him like pull his hood off like really slowly, but I don't feel like it was a very dramatic reveal. People can disagree with me.
No, not at all. Because it happened in this it happened in the same episode. The guy showed up, and you're like, oh my god, who's this guy? Oh, okay. And then later in the episode,
like 5 minutes later,
you're like, oh, okay, now it is Uncle Benjen. And I think I understand why they went that route because it is harder with the visual media for us as viewers to not be like, oh, we're gonna hyper analyze what his eyes look like,
right.
and, because the internet. But in the books, it's a little. Had the reveal yet, but it's the people, you can't see they don't describe his face, so I feel like there is more build up because that was a character we'd actually seen a few times before, whereas this guy literally shows up. Who is he? Oh, okay, now I know. So it's not for as a person who just watches the show, like you're like, oh, okay, cool. Not like, oh my god, I've been waiting 20 years for this crucial bit of information. So okay, all right, I think that's a fair point. It was pretty low key.
And I think it was definitely like a fan service for people who read the books and were super on board with that.
Well, I know we've been here. I'm just excited to see another Stark rise from the dead, essentially, which is, that's a Stark trait now. We got 2 in like the one season. It's crazy. But I, to your point, I think the more interesting part of this particular scene is what happens after the reveal. So Benjen starts going into how he's essentially had some sort of relationship with a three-eyed raven. Like they know each other. He's the one who called him to come help Bran. And he identifies Bran as the new three-eyed raven, and then goes on to say how integral he's going to be basically in saving the entire world. Which is something that we kind of speculated about for a while now. And I think it's becoming more and more confirmed. We've seen instances where different characters throughout the seasons that we have watched have kind of heard voices for a second and then it just stops, right? And they never really touch on it ever again, never really see it ever again. And I'm beginning to wonder, like, is Bran actually in some ways communicating with every character in the show? Is he kind of orchestrating, trying to build everybody up for a particular event, which is be the inevitable like stop of the White Walkers?
Well, and also to jump off what Austin was saying, Benjen definitely felt to me like he had some knowledge, like a lot of knowledge about what was actually happening. And in some ways, he felt like he was almost prepared to train Bran in some way. Like the Three-Eyed Raven kind of knew that this might be happening and that he was going to be someone that needed to be involved in Bran's life now. So he definitely feels like a character who knows a lot of information and can give that to Bran too.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's gonna continue to relay information that Three-Eyed Raven was not able to give him.
Right.
So he just has to find another big ass weirwood tree to hide in for a while, and we'll be good to go. Well, that is quite a bit on the adventures of Bran Stark, who I still find, again, right now the probably the plot I'm most curious to see how his powers are utilized, because man, there's so much cool stuff we could get to see through this guy's powers, and I'm just very, very excited about that. But enough of that. We need to move on to the greatest storyline this week, the Austin Lucari of storylines. That's right. We're gonna head to Hornhill and hang out with Sam Gilly and the rest of the Tarley crew. Man, good times, guys. Family dinners, yum. Austin, man, come on. Were you excited or what? This is the episode you've been waiting for, right?
No, I am excited about this scene. I'm excited about talking about it because it only proves once again that I'm correct and that Sam is worthless and can't do anything of value.
What are you talking about? He did a lot of stuff in this scene. He did a lot of good stuff in this scene.
All he did was like kind of cower and there might have been a little tear there. He got scared.
I will say that normally I like to give Austin a hard time, but I might be on Austin's side on this one.
I thought this was some of the best Sam material we've had in like a long time. You guys are crazy.
But that's not saying much. I mean,
oh my God, Kirsten, what are your thoughts on? First off, what are your thoughts on Sam in general?
I love Sam. He's such a sweetheart. He's brilliant. Yeah, he's a little bit of a pushover, but I mean, God, apparently he's been dealing with like this horribly domineering father his whole life who like shoved him into the Night's Watch and like
everybody else in this show. Everybody's dealing with a father like this.
Everyone has terrible dads. Yes,
it's true.
But not everybody's. Not everyone's a nice, sweet soul who just wants to read books. Whose dad says, "I'm going to kill you if you don't fucking get over to the Night's Watch," and then tells you you're worthless your entire life.
He's just a beautiful sweetheart.
You know what? No, let's call this for what it is. Randall Tarley is the best character in this show because he calls Sam for what he is. He's worthless, doesn't provide any value. Randall Tarley is my new hero.
Austin, get the fuck off my show. Get off my show.
I'm not going that far.
You get off my show.
Say that.
He is a bastion of racism and toxic masculinity.
Exactly. You heard that right there?
I won't defend his racism, but I will defend his hatred of Sam. I feel like we're kindred spirits.
He talks down to women. He talks about the White Walkers like he literally calls her an it, by the way. Literally says it. Yeah, great people. Austin, tell me, when have you cast your vote for Donald Trump yet? Is that what I'm hearing? That's what I'm hearing.
No, that's over the line, sir.
No, you just said it. Line. You just said it. I back this guy.
No, Randall Tarley is trying to draw out some cojones from his son. And he just kind of shrivels up and doesn't do anything about it. Randall Tarley's trying to help his son. He said, well, if you really love this woman, stand up for her. Do something.
Are you reading this as tough love?
I'm going to call it that just because I hate Sam. Yeah, that's pretty much what's going to happen.
Tough love. Okay, Austin, buddy. Listen, that's like the most abusive relationship ever. I'm only treating you like shit because I want you to be better.
In all seriousness, though. For what we have seen Sam do, right? Like he really has done quite a bit. You would expect for him to grow to the point that he could stand to his father at this point, and we just don't see that happen. I feel like he should have at least said something, anything, even if he wasn't really ultimately able to stop it. He didn't really do anything of value within that scene at all. And what we end up seeing is he, rather than confront his father or do anything about it, he sneaks off in the middle of the night and doesn't we never have that sort of confrontation, and I'm sure it will come. Obviously, he stole the sword. It's setting up a confrontation in the future. But this was his opportunity to really like stand up and be Sam. And when I was watching the scene, I was rooting for him. I'm like, Sam, this is your chance. You can finally do something of value. Let's go. And he just didn't. And he failed me. And I'm sad.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that there's an argument there, though, that is what really pushes him over the edge to eventually deciding that I'm not going to be like this anymore. Maybe it's too little, too late, but I think that he definitely feels responsible for not standing up in that situation.
Yeah, no, and that's my thing too. I feel like yes, he should have stuck up for himself at the dinner table, absolutely. But I will say there's that moment where he's just gonna take it. He's like, all right, I'm gonna leave in the morning, and you're gonna stay here and work. Gilly, you're gonna stay here and work in the kitchens. And he walks out of the room, but then he comes right back and he says, you know what? Forget it. I love you. We're going together. You know, that was his way of asserting himself, saying, no, this is what I really want. I'm not gonna continue to to sacrifice my desires for either the greater good or because people are telling me I need to. So I thought it was really. I mean. And again, yeah, he's not confronting his dad to his face, but that is a way of it is his way of asserting himself. Now, some people might say that's passive aggressive. I don't know. But he's taking that sword, and he's going to get a lot more. I'm confident he's going to get more use out of it than Randall Tarley ever would, because he knows what it's good for, which is stopping White Walkers.
It was funny, though, within the scene, the dinner table scene. We had basically the same thing happened with the Night's Watch with Giants. His Sam's brother basically is like, White Walkers, that's ridiculous.
It is kind of weird at this point in the show that, I mean, it makes sense because not everyone knows about them yet, but it's just weird for us who've been in the know since season 1 that other people are still treating it like a myth. But
why bother? I guess they were really concerned about the wildlings. I would say, why bother sending your son up there if you didn't believe in the White Walkers?
Oh, it's definitely the wildlings, yeah. Now, what I really liked about it from the scene, a couple other takeaways. One, Randall Tarley is a piece of shit because his wife is like, no, what, we're gonna leave, we're gonna back away. So she takes her daughter and Gilly away, which good on you. But she's like, no, this is your disgrace, which was really nice, showing that his family does not put up with this, which is really nice. And I also liked how it seemed like Sam's mom and sister actually genuinely loved him and cared about him. You never really got that warmth or understanding because we ever heard about was how Randall was treating him like garbage. So I thought it was a really good insight and paints a better picture of where Sam's coming from and maybe why he's so soft, and also, you know, why he operates the way he does. I feel like he probably had his father was a very controlling type, and he did the opposite of what a lot of people do. So
see, I disagree with that part. While I'm not necessarily going as far as Austin, I don't think this scene really accomplished, to me, I didn't feel like it accomplished that much. I already knew that Sam was capable of making the decision to go and protect Gilly on his own. We've seen him do that already. We already knew that his dad wasn't a good guy. He's told us about it. I mean, yeah, I guess we see the warmth from his mom and his sister, but you kind of felt like that was already there. And they came and now they're leaving. And so plot wise, I felt like I don't feel like this scene accomplished.
I completely agree with you, Daniel. And from that, all I can conclude is that the key takeaway from this scene is the sword. I think the sword is the whole reason this scene exists.
Yeah, it is. Correct. So let's go ahead and play a little game here about the Valyrian sword. So it's not been made explicit in the show, but several of the heads of houses have had swords. Were given Valyrian swords at the end of a long, ancient family tradition. Everyone's got their Valyrian sword that's been passed down each generation. So you've got Ice, that was formerly of House Stark. That was what was melted down into Oathkeeper, which Brienne has, and Widow's Wail, which last we saw Joffrey had it. So I guess we can assume Tommen's got it. You've got Longclaw, which is is formerly of House Mormont. That is the one that Jon Snow had, and he left with Ed.
Did he leave that with Ed? I totally missed that.
They didn't. Okay, so I think they did. Yes, they didn't show him taking it with him, and then the last time I think we saw it was when he was giving it to Ed, and we didn't see it after that. So I assume so. And then you've got the House Tarley sword, which is Heartsbane. Now, these are the only ones we've seen on the show. There are several others. One called Red Rain that belonged to House Rain, Lady Forlorn, which has not been mentioned in the show. But several heads of houses have these swords they pass down their families. So I think it's a good bit of mythology for those of you folks out there who are thinking. I mean, it's gonna be important when the White Walkers show up to know, okay, where are these swords? Who has them? Because they are going to be kind of like the only defense against the White Walkers until the dragon shows up, at least. So, fun stuff. Austin, I guess I'm sure we'll get a break from Sam, but I'm sure we'll be back to that storyline for you here in a couple weeks.
They will. It's not going anywhere.
So let's head on over to King's Landing, I thought, for me personally, this is where the biggest surprises were, because we actually made a lot of predictions about what was going to happen this week, and most of them ended up coming true, but we didn't call this, and this is how the High Sparrow seduces Tommen. So
hold on. Let's reword how we say that when we talk about priests and little children. Okay.
Hey, we actually don't know. That very well could have happened knowing this guy, so...
He gets Margery in there on his side, seemingly somehow, too.
Yeah, that's the big question. I want to throw this out there. Let's go ahead and I really want to get Kirsten's take on this. So, Margery Tyrell, what do you think about her in general?
Up to this point, or...
Yeah, up to this point.
I adore her. I think that she is brilliant and can totally go toe-to-toe with all of the master manipulators in Westeros. And I will be so upset with this show if we have to say goodbye to Margery, neckline down to her belly button, Tyrell.
I would be very sad.
I would be
that go
super frustrated. Okay,
I agree as well.
I think she's still in control.
Okay, good.
I do.
Good.
At least I hope.
That was my take from it too. Mm-hmm. Because we're viewers and we can see everything she does. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's usually those moments you can tell she's being a little more real, particularly with like Loras or Olenna. And then there's scenes we see with her doing everything else.
Yeah.
And I felt like that everything else Margery, like she's still putting on a show. But
I think she would not have done what she did had she known that her father was going to march up with an army. I mean, the look on her face when it happened was like, crap, man, why didn't you tell me? I wouldn't have done this. But I think she did, without having the information available to her, she found a way out on her own.
Right, and unfortunately for her, I mean, again, God bless her. I mean, she's still pretty kick-ass for kind of gaining control of the situation like that. But it also gives High Sparrow the upper hand, because I'm sure what happened is she made her and the High Sparrow made some sort of agreement, and then Tommen comes, and then again, High Sparrow continues to manipulate Tommen by saying, "Oh, you can see your wife." He wouldn't let anyone else see Cersei, but he'll let Tommen see his wife. And then Margery's like, okay, this is my shot out of here. And now they're partners, though. So it gives both of them kind of... I mean, it doesn't really knock her down a peg, but it just gives the High Sparrow more authority and control.
Yeah, I mean, if the High Sparrow controls Tommen, which it kind of looks like he does, he is now the most powerful man in Westeros. I believe that. Yeah, he controls the religious institutions, at least in the South, at least for a good portion of it. And now he controls the official government. You can debate on whether or not King's Landing has that much power, actually, but they still control a lot of money. They do have some influence, and I think that makes the High Sparrow the most influential person in all of Westeros right now.
Yeah, I completely agree with Austin. I really thought that this season we were going to see the downfall of the Sparrow, but the opposite has seemed to have happened. He's just continued to gain power, and I agree with Austin. He's in the most powerful position that he's been in. And I also feel like this puts Jaime and Cersei in a really weird spot. I mean, if they go after the Sparrow, in a way, they're going after their own son now, too, which puts them in a really awkward position. I don't know how they're going to handle that. As well as Margery, I'm with you guys. I'm not convinced that Margery is, on Team Sparrow all of a sudden, and that she's had this revelation, and now she's all of a sudden in his pocket or whatever. I think this was all just her playing the game, hopefully. But I do believe I think she's too smart to give in to him. But yeah, I think that this just makes everything much harder for the Lannisters and the Tyrells.
I definitely think that some of it is real, but I think that when she sort of had that revelation of how hard it is to look at yourself for who you really are, I think she was like, oh, I can use that.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what I'm saying. Like, she revealed that information to Tommen. Well, yeah, I went and was in the. I helped the poor, but that's because I wanted people to see me. So it's this weird. I'm saying it's such a. It makes her even more brilliant, really, because she's like, okay, now I'm giving you even more information to trick you into thinking I've converted. Now, our best hope is that she can still use this to her advantage to get out of the High Sparrow's clutches. Would be really great because nobody wants to see that guy in power.
Cersei has already underestimated the High Sparrow. Greatly,
like,
and I don't want Margery to make the same mistake.
Right, a couple of times she has, and this is Margery's shot to kind of undermine him and gain control back.
I hate to say it, Caleb, but I think there is only one person who can save us from the High Sparrow at this point, and his name's rhymes with Aelish.
That's right. Peter Baelish. He's got an army. He's got 2 armies, actually, and he's probably going to have 3 armies pretty soon.
He's the only person who has risen to power in Westeros, at least, because you could argue Dany did, but it's through different means, as quickly as the High Sparrow. The only person.
So, Peter Baelish, that would be an interesting dynamic, though. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see Baelish v. Sparrow. Because
that'd be great. Good versus evil. The question is, who's good? Who's evil?
Oh.
Peter Baelish twirls his mustache, in the corner over there. Austin, I think that's a great point. I don't think if that is the case, which is a very viable point, I don't think we see that this season, though. I think Peter Baelish is going to remain in the North. Although...
where he meets Jaime Lannister, who's coming up there.
Possibly.
Yeah.
That's a great segue there, Austin. So let's talk. So first off, poor Jaime, this whole scene, he has to put up with Mace. Mace shows up and gives this really crappy speech, and Jaime's just like got this rolling his eyes in his face, like, oh my God, this guy's a moron. And then he goes up and he like sticks up to the High Sparrow. He says, in the name of King Tommen Baratheon. And then the High Sparrow's like, oh, what? You got the name King Tommen? What's up? Opens the doors. Tommen walks out. Oh, no. And he's just like, are you freaking kidding me? He just has that look on his face.
If there were mics in Westeros, one would have been rattling down the stairs.
Boom! Drop the mic. Yeah, no, that was, real rough Jaime moment, because he was the face of that whole scenario, and it just fell totally flat on his face. But that takes us to the next scene where he is giving up his knighthood, I guess. It was a little unclear. He's ripping off his armor, which implies he's done, right? But then apparently he gets reassigned a mission to head to the Riverlands to retake Riverrun, which we learn has been taken back by none other than the Blackfish. Yes.
I don't. First of all, let's make the distinction. He's not giving up anything. It's been stripped of him.
What was it? It was really unclear.
Yeah, because
I think so too.
I think Tommen's like, you're done here because you were working against the High Sparrow, who is like the religious leader. And that's why Jaime then goes on to say, what are you going to do? You're going to torture me? You're going to make me atone? What are you going to do?
Yeah. Okay. So he's been stripped. I was thinking back to that scene when what's
Barristan.
Yeah, when Barristan did a similar thing in front of Joffrey, where he's like, they try to release him, and he's like, "Well, fuck this," and rips his armor off and all that. I think they were definitely going for that vibe. But the big takeaway here is Jaime is now being sent away from the conflict to Riverrun, so away from Cersei, away from the conflict, which honestly I think is the best place for him. I think just from an entertainment standpoint, I think he's outlived his usefulness in the capital at this point.
Do you know who I just remembered is also going to Riverrun right now? We could have the
Brienne of Tarth.
That's right. We could have our cop buddy comedy reunited.
Oh God, I forgot about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh man, power couple. It can It's a love triangle. We got Tormund, you got Brienne, and you got Jaime. Oh God! By the way, the internet has been guys. I'm drawing a line in the sand. The internet has been out of control with those Tormund gifs. Oh my!
No way.
I can't. Good.
It's so funny. My favorite one I tweeted out a couple weeks ago was the Jack and Rose from Titanic. Tormund is holding Brienne's arm, and they photoshopped Brienne. She's got this really that uncomfortable, like, eye rolling look on her face. Yeah, it's gold, man. It's gold. But yes, we could in fact complicate the love triangle with Redbeard, with Jaime coming back into the picture. That's a good point, Austin. I totally forgot about that. Oh my God. So many possibilities. Well, the Riverlands are going to be a big deal here again soon, because the Freys have joined the fray. They're coming back.
Wow. You did it again. You giggled before your joke. Look at this.
I'm not a stand-up comic here, okay? I just occasionally sit behind a mic and talk to people, and occasionally stand in front of people and talk.
Kristen, you write for a comedy routine. You gotta help Caleb out.
She did just boo me.
I'll do what I can.
That's right. Filch is back on he's back on the job, so he is rooting out anybody who is frickin' screwing up Hogwarts, and by that I mean the Riverlands. Apparently, they're not in a good spot. It looks like all their houses have turned on them. It looks like those meddling kids, Harry, and the Brotherhood Without Banners are causing him some problems with their magic.
God.
They got the Resurrection Stone or something with that Beric Dondarrion guy.
Wow. Wow.
And he just keeps giving, doesn't he?
It just doesn't stop.
No, that is a good point you brought up. That's the first time we've heard about the Brotherhood Without Banners in a very, very long time. And
season 3, dude.
Game of Thrones does everything with intention, and that does definitely means to me that we will be visiting them again very soon.
Yeah, it's really cool. So I'm going to keep my mouth pretty tight-lipped, but this is actually mirroring an arc in the books that I thought we were getting totally robbed of, because it's a really great story arc. It's his main arc for the 4th book, and we're getting to see them play that out in this context. In the books, instead of going to Dorne, he goes to Riverrun. And does some really cool stuff that hopefully we'll see unfold on the show. So the fact that we're heading there, I'm like, oh, this is cool, because I know where it leads to, and it's some really, really cool, exciting stuff. But it's really exciting to get back to the Riverlands, because we really haven't been there since the Red Wedding. That was really the last time we really saw much from any of those houses. So being able to check up on the Freys is really interesting. I think the Brotherhood Without Banners, which is, actually, Harry Potter jokes aside, I think the closest tie is actually Robin Hood, but I'm excited to see those guys back in action. And I think this is going to lead to some rich stories. The Blackfish is an epic badass who we haven't got to see do much on the show yet. So
they wanted us to care about his nephew. I still don't care about him. I've never cared about him. So maybe they're going to make us care more in the future. I don't know.
I think it was just more of like, hey, we're going to use him as a hostage.
Yeah, sure, but like
something.
as a viewer, I don't really care what happens to Ed Murtali. Don't give a crap. He's never meant anything to me.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, he was always if you remember his introduction, he was kind of a snot, honestly, way back in season 3, a little overconfident. But
he's the one that missed the arrow when they had the burial.
Oh yeah, the guy who couldn't shoot his own dad's burial. Yeah.
And then Blackfish just takes it from him like, you little.
God.
Yeah.
I really hope the Blackfish gets to do some cool stuff.
It might get cool. I don't know. I'm withholding judgment as of this point in time. I hope that it gets cool, but I've been let down in the past. So,
do you guys still have the same type of hate for Walder Frey that we had previous? Like, at this point, enough time has passed that I'm like, yeah, he'll probably die at some point, but it's not like, oh, let's get him, Not anymore.
I kind of can't believe he's not already dead.
I know. Well, I love the show that acknowledges that. He even in his speech, he's like, "That's right, I'm not dead, and you're gonna have to deal with it." Yeah, I mean, it is kind of weird to return to a character who is a monster, but we haven't seen him in three seasons. That's it's been a while. So I feel like you're right, Austin. The emotional connection is a little robbed there, but don't worry, give it an episode or two. I'm sure it'll take just him doing one or two things for us to get upset at him.
After Ramsay, it's hard to get pissed at anyone else.
Yes. Another problem with Ramsay. The other problem with Ramsay is when you create a guy who continuously does totally off the wall, over the top evil things. Everything else seems tamer, right?
Yeah.
Man.
It's like a nuclear arms war of crappiness.
Yeah. So we'll be back, I'm sure, as soon as next week. We're going to be back to the Riverlands, so that's really exciting. But let's go ahead and head across the sea into Braavos, which was a really fun scene here. We get to see if Arya is actually going to follow through with her plan with the faceless men. And we get to see the second act, or the second half, or the end of the play this time, where we get to see the Purple Wedding reenacted, which is a lot of fun. And apparently, the actress who plays Cersei is Lady Crane, is very good. It seems like she is very passionate about the part she plays. And apparently, it looks like the actress she plays Sansa really wants in on that Cersei part. So in classic high school, drama sabotages go, she's trying to out Lady Crane from the role, apparently. Which is why Arya is there. We believe that Sansa actress is paying the Faceless Men to kill her. This is all very ambiguous, all of it, all together. So, Kirsten, you're nodding your head over there, so I'm really interested. What did you make of this?
I have strong feelings about the Faceless Men. They could be built, and we're not sure if they were just straight up, paid to kill this lady. So they're like, oh, I guess we'll go kill this lady. With the power that they have, they could be building and destroying empires. And from what I can tell, they're really just assassins, and not even political assassins. They're just
guns for hire.
Hey, yeah, you got people you want killed. We'll do that.
Well, and that's the thing. And the worst part is, yes, that's all true. But then they use, at least for disciples like Arya, they're hiding that behind the religion of the god of death demands.
Right. Right.
XYZ, which makes you real bummed out when you were all excited last season when you're all like, yeah, the Faceless Men, they're actually this real religious or no, they're not. They're just like everyone else. They're
obviously it's a god with real power if, they can
change faces.
Change faces, exactly. But I got my hopes up so high for them, and they just are really disappointing.
There's not a real noble. There's no actual nobility in Westeros, unfortunately.
Or even they're wasting their power.
Yeah, no, totally. On really, really seemingly trivial things.
That's what I was we were talking about this the past couple weeks. Like, where does this money even go? They demand massive fees for their services, and what's happening to the money? There's no way that giant stone building has massive upkeep or anything. It's kind of weird.
They live like monks.
Yeah, so it doesn't make a lot of sense to what's going on there. We definitely don't have all the information, obviously, but we did say in previous weeks that we did not think Arya was truly nobody, and here we see that she is still very much Arya.
Yeah, she still makes a very human Arya decision, and it's she actually makes the mistake or makes a good decision, depending on who you ask, to talk to Lady Crane briefly to get a feel, because she says, hey, this person seems like a legit person, which again we talked about last week. The last person she was sent to kill was very much looked like a scumbag. This is a person she kind of liked and was like, I think this is respectable, and she took the time to talk to her after the play, and she put that one to bed, and it's going to cost her.
She made the Stark decision, for sure. She's definitely a Stark still at heart. She's honorable, noble, and that's not going away no matter how much hatred she builds up towards people and how long her hit list gets. What's the over-under on her living, guys? I mean, the Waif has consistently beat the crap out of her for months and months and years, even if you include last season. And Jaqen, we know, is fully capable of murdering entire castles full of soldiers with no problem.
I have really strong feelings about this, and they're two really strong feelings about this, and they're completely opposite of each other. One half of me really, really almost hates what's going on here, and the other half of me really, really loves what's going on here. So I'll start with the negative side, and then I'll slide to my positive side and try to end on a positive note. So first off, it feels like everything that she's been doing the past 2 seasons, if she's going to just be a Stark, seems almost pointless. It really frustrates me. She got a little bit of training from these Faceless Men, and that's all that has really happened. If she's deciding to become, be Arya and do that. So from that point of view, I don't really know what they've been doing with her. If this was just going to be their end goal with her anyway. So that was really frustrating. But this particular scene, I actually really, really loved. I think the show did a really good job. There's a lot of symbolism actually that happens in this scene. Some of the way that she talks to Lady Crane, and even some of the imagery that we see. So I don't know if you guys caught it, but when she's going in there to poison the Lady Crane, when she's walking in, they put the props for the Iron Throne that the actual play was using. The props for the Iron Throne is actually right behind her, and it almost looks like she's sitting on it, which was some really cool imagery. If you guys didn't catch that, you should go back and watch it. It's really cool to see how that happens. And then also, when she's talking to Lady Crane, she has it almost feels like she's talking to herself, like, hey, she watched her father die, and she says something along the lines of, if she didn't get to say bye before she watched him die, you would be really mad. You would want to go kill somebody. You would want to go kill them for that. Almost, she watched her dad die right before she was running to him, didn't get to say goodbye. And now she is deciding I'm really mad about that still. I want to go do something about that. So I thought that what they actually did in the scene for her character was really, really cool. Plot-wise, I thought it was really frustrating because I feel like it's going anywhere. But there's a lot of stuff there, and we honestly don't have time to go through all of it because there's really some cool stuff that happens throughout that scene.
I could not disagree with you more about the plot because finally something happened. The status quo changed for her. Finally, she turned her back on the Faceless Men. There's going to be consequences for that, whether she dies or survives or runs away, whatever. I'm just really glad to be rid of the Faceless Men at this point, either way.
I agree. I'm so tired of just like montage after montage that appears to sort of be leading to nothing for her.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a double-edged sword, right? It's like, it was cool the idea was exciting, and then after an entire season, you're like, man, all right, let's move on. Oh, wait.
Yeah, it was like going to Dorne, where we're like, oh yeah, we get to see Dorne, the land of Oprah and Martell. It's going to be amazing. And then you go there, and it's filled with like C-rate actors and crappy scripts. It's terrible.
Did you guys also notice, Arya tells her, Lady Crane, to change the script, and so later she's talking about changing the script and being her own individual person, and the actor for Tywin is the one that steps up and the one that shoots her down, just like Tywin would really do to Cersei in real life. There's just a lot of really cool moments in this scene. Hey, I don't know if it means a lot, but it's cool.
It's a little bit of commentary. It's on a lot of different things. Firstly, you've got old man over here who's like, 2 strikes, you're a woman and you're an actress. You think you've got ideas that are worth something? Well, guess what? You don't get to write the script, especially not in Westeros. So it was kind of cool. There was, a little of that poking fun at actors, like, oh, well, you're, or the characters themselves. You're not in your own story. You don't get to make your decisions. This is Game of Thrones. If you die, you die. And if you're an actor who's working in a business, you don't get to change the lines. You're pretty much stuck with them if they're really terrible. So that was a fun little bit of commentary. Potentially a little bit of misogyny. I don't know. That's probably just Westeros, though. I'm excited that the status quo has changed, Austin. I'm totally with you there. She's got Needle back. And I think the big takeaway here is I think I ultimately, again, I hope the show kind of subverts my expectations in some way because I'm overly confident that she's going to be fine. She's going to get out of the situation one way or the other. And she's going to end up, it won't be entirely pointless because she's going to go back to Westeros with a whole new set of skills. She's going to be like Liam Neeson in Taken. She's going to have a particular set of skills she did not have before.
At this point, she should die. Like, logically speaking, she should. But if they sent her to Braavos, had her do nothing for 2 seasons, and then killed her, that's kind of crappy just from like a story perspective. Like, what was the point of all that? You should have killed her back in Westeros, not made us sit through all this nonsense for 2 seasons.
Please, for the love of God, just go back and find the Hound. I'm sure he's still laying on the road somewhere. Please. That was a way more interesting storyline. Okay, well, that'll take us to kind of the final scene here, and where we go back to the road to Meereen. Daenerys is on the road with the Dothraki, and she asks the question, man, we need some ships for these guys. How many ships do you think we need, Dario? And he's like, probably about 1,000. Probably about 1,000 or so ships. I mean, guys, we definitely don't know anybody who's got 1,000 ships at all, right? Right?
Well, no, we really don't. But we do know one person who really thinks he can build it in a short period of time.
Well, he can use the Peter Baelish magical powers of slowing and speeding up time any way he wants to. In which, I mean, yeah. It's like, oh, we need 1,000 ships. Give me like a week, dude. We're good. Like Peter Baelish is like, I need to go up to Winterfell, which, by the way, usually takes a very long time, and the show speeds it up by making it 2 or 3 episodes. Well, he does it in like 1. Apparently, Euron Greyjoy is gonna have the same power. I need 1,000 ships. We'll give me 2 episodes, guys. We're good. We're good.
We have no trees on our island. Don't worry about it. It's fine. I don't even know why they asked that. I mean, I guess they were trying to really just beat you over the head with the fact that, oh, the Greyjoys can help her. They have boats, guys. If you were too stupid to pick it up last week, here it is.
That's a lot of ships.
That is a lot of
That's
ships.
so many boats.
That really is a lot of boats. The entire Westeros, they're going to have to like literally cut down every tree in Westeros. The Iron Islands, they got to go further. You're going to have to like go full blown.
You're going to like destroy the natural world in the quest for.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. They'll actually end up knocking all the trees down, which reinforces what the White Walkers are trying to do. They're trying to kill man for chopping down trees, essentially. So there you go. But yeah, so we've got that. But I think the real takeaway from this scene, of course, is a couple things. Before we get to the epic speech, I just think that there's a great line from Dario about Daenerys, which is, "You're no ruler, you're a conqueror." Mm-hmm. Right?
Finally, someone said it.
Right?
I'm so sick of seeing Dany try to like deal with the economic collapse she started by eradicating slavery and like trying to be a diplomat. I want to see her burn things down.
And that raised the point. I was talking to, some of the folk I was watching the show with, and it's like, maybe she actually isn't going to end up on the Iron Throne. Maybe she's going to just help whoever is, because we've already established that she's not a great ruler. But man, if she can get people fired up to want to take a fucking village down, man.
Yeah, maybe one of her partners, maybe the Greyjoys will sit on the Iron Throne.
No. Oh my God, Austin. No.
No.
There's a really great fan theory out there that Dany's actually the bad guy and Jon Snow is the good guy.
I've heard about that. Yeah. I mean, the Song of Ice and Fire is there,
right?
And again, that is a very George R. R. Martin way to paint it. Like you follow this whole character for seasons, thinking she's actually the good guy. Now, what happens though if she shows up and is not on their side, and there's like a conflict there? Mm-hmm. But man, just the idea of 1,000 ships worth of Dothraki running at an army of White Walkers is pretty amazing. I just, wow.
They're going to be awfully cold up there, the Dothraki.
They don't wear much.
No, that loincloth is only so thick.
Well, Dany, again, proof of this, though, is that Dany gives a rousing speech, I should say, that is very much channeling Khal Drogo back in season 1. Now, she left out the crucial detail in which she says, "We're going to burn their villages and rape their women." She didn't say that, but she did kind of channel that whole, like, hey, this was promised. This is a throne we're going to take. We're going to rule over the rest of the world. We're going to go kill the men in the iron armor. And then, of course, they're warmongers, so they're like, yes, let's do it.
Not the most consequential scene, but fun nonetheless and cool to watch.
Well, I think the big takeaway, outside of the fact that she was getting her dudes fired up, was that she had Drogon back, and her men saw her with Drogon. Kirsten, I mean, you're like, this is like the definitive, between her and Cersei, this is like the definitive like badass woman on the show. Like, did you get you fired up?
Yeah, no, I love it. And again, I'm super excited to finally see Arya do something that's not just like cowing to this weird cult. Like, I'm excited for her. I'm excited for Dany. I'm pumped.
This has been the theme of this season. Women just kicking ass.
It really has.
George R. R. Martin has, I mean, he's been interviewed on this subject too, and just been like, yeah, you just write a character and then you decide to make them female. Like, that's it. That's all you have to do to like write good female characters, is just write a character and then make it a woman.
Yeah. What are you talking about? Are you saying women are normal people too?
Yeah, it's so weird.
I can't even comprehend what you're saying right now. It doesn't make any sense to me. I think Randall Tarley would disagree with you vehemently.
Oh yeah, well.
Randall Tarley can suck it. That's super cool. I think, again, we've talked about this every week, but this is really women rising to power, which is cool, because I was thinking about this the other day. With the exception of Catelyn Stark, who was still not the face of the North, like literally every other war has been waged by men so far in this show, because you had Joffrey, you had the War of the Five Kings, all of them were dudes. And guess what? They're all dead now. All of them. They're all dead. So it's cool to see like the women leadership. I mean, you have Sansa, who I think by and large is going to be the face of the North.
I'm really excited to see her take up the mantle of that is previously vacated by Catelyn Stark, of being frustrated with men. Just like I'm so excited to see Sansa Stark just like in the future being in the background, just rolling her eyes at like all the decisions that these dudes make.
Oh, for sure. And I really hope, though, I really, and I might be too optimistic here, but I'd like to think that she is going to be the face of the North, though, because John, and she brought this point up last week. You know, Jon Snow is a Snow. He's a bastard. So while I think he still has more weight to him, because first off he's a man and he's still an offspring of a Stark, she's really going to be the one who carries like the name forward, the legacy forward, because she's now the oldest remaining legitimate Stark. So we might get to see her in leadership. I still have faith that either Margery or Cersei are going to take over the situation in King's Landing. And then you've got Daenerys with her army and as well.
I don't understand why you keep leaving out the Sand Snakes, Caleb.
God. Hey, guys. It's been 6 episodes and we still haven't checked in with them. I am just fine with that. Let's keep it that way. What are they doing? Apparently they're just drinking margaritas, hanging out on the beach.
Maybe they'll show up in like the very
Maybe they
last
killed the High
episode.
Sparrow. Maybe they end up our saviors.
Oh, my God. That...
Be a really weird turn of events.
Really weird. Well, I mean, it'd be just as weird as that coup that happened. You were like, "Hey,
okay,
we're in."
fair.
Oh my God, they took over.
They'll be like, Tommen really likes the High Sparrow. Let's kill him. Great.
All right. Well, I think that about wraps our kind of recap of this week's episode of Game of Thrones. But we don't just do recapping here. We want to talk a little bit about a little bit of analysis on the show. Like, what was this episode doing? What was it saying? What are some kind of ideas outside of the women in power? Because we've talked a lot about that. But what are some of the recurring ideas that are at work here in this episode? So Austin, we'll get a feel. Like, did you pick up on any ideas here?
I mean, I didn't pick up on much aside from the real obvious family connections, which is just really laid out there in the title, where you have family members sticking up for family members who are pushing other family members down. And then even all the way to Daenerys with her dragons, who she really considers her children. Just a strong like family ties and themes there, but nothing of real substance from me beyond the title there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the Blood of My Blood is the obvious reading. It makes sense, though. I thought this was actually a relatively straightforward episode. There was a little bit of work, I think, with the idea of revealing true intentions that were at work there. You had Arya revealing her true intentions. You had Benjen revealing his true intentions. You had Margery, in a way, kind of revealing her intentions to some degree. So it was kind of this idea of people revealing a little more truth, I suppose. But yeah, this episode didn't have a whole lot to say about it myself. Now, Kirsten, did you pick up on anything interesting going on here?
I mean, I said it pretty much at the beginning, just the fact that like everyone is kind of making the decision to come into their own and looking at where they are and deciding it's not where they want to be.
Right.
And just to go on after that, I kind of categorized it as more like a self-realization almost. Like all these characters were kind of faced with, who am I? Who do I want to be? Bran, does he want to really, he's going to be the three-eyed raven. Sam, does he really want to be this person that's willing to stand up? Arya, who does she want to be? Does she want to be someone who remembers her family, or does she want to be no one? Dany, I am a conqueror. I think almost every character was answering that question, like, who am I? Who do I want to be? And that is going to be, they start taking the steps and making those decisions from this point forward. So kind of tagging in with what you guys said there, I think was a pretty strong theme this week.
Okay, very cool. So again, I think you're seeing the same ideas, and that are going to tie in towards the end of the season. We've got a lot left to take on here. I think that kind of wraps our discussion of this week's episode of Blood of My Blood, folks. Go ahead, and we're gonna tease next week's episode here in a moment. But we need to let you guys know, where can we hear your thought? Where can you talk to us? And we want to hear your thoughts on this week's episode of Blood of My Blood. Before we recap next week's episode, The Broken Man. But firstly, I want to say thank you so much to our special guest, Kirsten Thirkelson, for joining us this week. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah. Now, if people want to keep up with you online, where can they kind of find you on the Twitter or Facebook or?
Yes. So I am on Twitter as @Cranston, which is KRANSTIN. And that is where I will usually tweet info about my shows and also just things that I think are funny.
She's really funny, guys, on Twitter. Seriously, she's really funny. You should check it out.
You can also find me at goodtrashmedia.com. I am, again, the Frightful Femme. And here pretty soon, I will be working on doing a month of classics that I embarrassingly have not yet watched.
Oh, no. That's great. So you haven't watched them at all?
No, I've never seen any of the films that I'm doing this month.
This is exciting.
But they are regarded widely as horror classics.
Yes.
So I'm really excited.
Very, very good stuff. So if you're a horror fan here watching Game of Thrones, guys, head on over to Good Trash Media and look up The Frightful Femme. And I'm serious. I'm not trying to boast on you, but they're really funny, like cracked levels of funny sometimes. You're like, oh my God. You get a very distinct,
Making
fun
me
voice.
blush.
It's fun. How about the rest of us here? Austin, where can people find you on the Twitter, in the Twitterverse?
You can find me at AC Lucari on Twitter. Usually just posting some things. When people want to ruin my life by sending me Sam Tarley portraits, I post stuff like that there. That's pretty much it.
All right, Mr. Stoll.
Daniel Stull 23. That's Stull Stull, and then the number 23. I'd love to talk to any of you guys about Game of Thrones or anything else you guys would like to chat about.
All right, fantastic. And I want to remind everyone you can find the Cast Beyond the Wall and all of our Game of Thrones coverage at goodtrashmedia.com. Head on over to the website there where you can keep up with Kirsten. We do a lot of movie reviews. This week we had a review on Looper that just went up on Monday. We've got a review of X-Men Apocalypse going up tomorrow. We've got a lot of really cool stuff in the store. We got a film festival coming up here next week, or in the next couple of weeks, the Dead Sitter Film Festival that we're going to have a lot of coverage on, and we're really, really excited to share with you guys there as well. And I want to give you guys a shout out. So if you're a Cast Beyond the Wall listener who happens to be local in Oklahoma City, I know many of you are. If you're local in Oklahoma City, Good Trash Media is going to be doing a live show this Friday. So it's in 2 days. Friday, June the 3rd at 7:30 p.m. At the Parish. We're going to be screening a film from our friends at Planet Thunder. If you guys remember guest host Jacob from last week, it'll be one of their films. We'll be talking about kind of doing a live show where we watch the movie together, and then we're going to do a interview with Jacob and some of the other filmmakers, as well as our trademark Good Trash genre cast analysis when we talk about, what's this movie, the Fable of Shannon Cable, really talking about. And then afterwards, we're all just going to hang out and have a good time because we want to hang out and talk to you guys. It'll be a real good time. We hope to see you there. Again, that's Friday, June the 3rd, 7:30 p.m. at the Parish in Oklahoma City. That's down on the plaza, right across from Empire Slice House. The one last thing I kind of want to remind you guys is that we are a podcast for the Good Trash Media Network, and we are able to bring you this coverage because we have listeners like you who contribute to our Patreon account. This is we do this for fun. We really, really love doing it, but it really helps when you guys help us be able to produce more content when you guys can contribute money. We also have a lot of rewards lined up for you if you do give money. So if you want to head on over to patreon.com/GTM, consider being contributing on a monthly basis. You can give as little as $1 a month. I mean, I can't go to Taco Bell drive-thru for that cheap. So it's like $1 a month. So that's for this hour and a half of listening 4 times a month for $1. It's a pretty big steal. And we have reward levels that go up to as much as $30 a month. A lot of different things. We've got swag, T-shirts. You get to pick a movie at a certain level. So I hope you guys will check us out there at patreon.com/GTM. All right, guys. So let's talk a little bit briefly about the title of next week's episode, The Broken Man. What do we think it means? I have a feeling we're talking about Edmure Tully, because he looks like a pretty broken dude, and I feel like he's going to be a pretty integral part of next week's episode. What do you guys think?
I think we might also see a little something from Theon, a man who was once broken is coming back to life a little bit. What about you, Daniel?
I think you guys hit I was thinking of Theon as well. He's the most broken man I think we've seen. Maybe that's a hint at Loras as well. He's the other broken man that I can think of.
I was actually going to say that maybe it's a little bit to do with Jon Snow as well.
Ooh.
Because I get the feeling from him that he didn't necessarily want to be brought back from the dead.
Yeah, no, there's good, and we mentioned that briefly. I don't think we got really in deep. Like there's one scene where he was talking to somebody. It was like Sansa or Davos or somebody. He's like, the last thing I remember was getting stabbed for doing the right thing. And then I came back. It was like this really uncomfortable. And ever since then, he's had this just look of carry weight on his life. He's like, oh my God, this is awful with everything.
He looked confused before, and now he just looks like sorry.
Right. And I hope you're right, though. I would like to see more Jon Snow. Like, what exactly is going through this guy's head a little bit. What's up with him? And I will say, this season, for the breakneck pace we're at, which is fun, and it really feels like we're getting somewhere, I do really miss like a good monologue scene. We haven't really had any of those this season, where it's just like 2 characters in a room or 3 characters in a room just talking for like 5 minutes. I don't know. Not to say that we need one of those all the time, but it'd be cool to see Jon
There's no
Snow.
time for that, Caleb. We are marching forward at lightning speed. No time for talking.
No time for character development? I mean, Jon Snow coming back from the dead deserves a little bit of character development, right?
We had years of character development. Now we're just killing and burning.
Wow.
Well, Austin,
You think we can fill a season with that?
just killing
Yeah.
and burning?
Yeah. I mean, Michael Bay's made a career out of it, so can have one season full of it.
Oh God. Well, fair point. So, all right, I the broken man. I suspect you guys are right. We will see some broken characters next week. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, thank you so much for joining in this week's discussion. We can't wait to join you guys again next week when we go Beyond the Wall.